Chapter 2. The Traveler from Another World. While peace reigned on Earth in a far corner of the universe, a disaster was beginning to brew. Toria, a remote world on the edges of the universe, was falling under shadows. Since ancient times, it had guarded a gateway to the white dimension, a sacred threshold protected by its guardian. That day, the dark omen was fulfilled. Gravek, the conqueror of worlds, stepped through that portal. He did not come alone. He was followed by a group of warriors who carried out his orders. His mere presence was enough to shatter the will of an entire people and extinguish all hope. Toria's defenses rose, but a group of Gravek's warriors descended from the sky like a dark swarm, unleashing coordinated bursts of ki that leveled the defensive lines. Explosions shook the ground and enveloped the buildings in columns of smoke. In a matter of seconds, the front lines dissolved into a chaos of screams and dust. Citizens ran from the main square to the river, huddling together by the stone bridge. Some tried to pray amidst sobs, others clung to the bridge's walls, as if that alone could hold back the disaster. The water carried ash and debris of collapsed homes, while the roar of the flames mingled with the cries of those fleeing for the coast. And among the survivors, there she was. Halira was no ordinary warrior. Not long ago, the guardian of Toria had chosen her, along with other disciples, to train in the white dimension, a space that tempered body and spirit. For months, she had learned to coexist with that infinite void, a terrain where time flowed differently, and which until then she had considered only a testing ground. Witnessing the devastation of her world, she realized that the training had not been in vain. The fate of her planet hung by a thread. Far from the city, at the top of the sanctuary that dominated the region, the guardian of Toria, wounded, watched the fall of his people when Halira's figure streaked across the sky and descended before the sacred temple, her breathing heavy. The guardian had called her, and she knew it would not be for simple advice. Upon reaching the sanctuary, she found the guardian kneeling on the temple steps, his robe torn and his ki weakened, but still firm. "Master," she fell to her knees beside him. "Roussel, Gavir, and Milana. I've lost them all." "I know," the guardian replied, his voice grave. "They are no longer themselves. That being's corruption has taken them." "What is that force? What is he looking for?" "He seeks control, power. He wants to subjugate the strongest and turn them against their own." The guardian looked at her gravely. "And you, Halira, are his next target." The air shuddered violently. Both suddenly felt several presences approaching from the east, an overwhelming energy in the lead, followed by several smaller ones. The guardian narrowed his eyes, realizing what they were after. "He is coming for you," he said in a low voice. "I have seen beyond the gate. Those invaders travel in ships. Find out where they come from, and seek help before Toria falls completely." "No, Master. I can't leave you alone." "Go, Halira." The guardian gripped her arm tightly. "The fate of Toria rests on your shoulders." A thunderous roar shook the sanctuary's courtyard. Gravek descended from the sky, accompanied by several of his warriors, and stopped in front of the sanctuary. The guardian barely managed to stand, gathering the last of his strength. "Halira! There is no other choice. Cross the gate to the white dimension." Halira squared her shoulders. She knew staying wouldn't change a thing. The guardian's ki was fading fast, and in that moment she understood what he was planning, sacrificing himself to give her a chance. Halira nodded, wiping away her tears fiercely. "I will return. I swear on the blood of Toria that I will return to this temple." Gravek turned to his men. You two, after her. The soldiers lunged forward. The Guardian gathered the rest of his power and unleashed a ki shockwave that destabilized them, buying Halira a few seconds. "Run!" he shouted in a broken voice. Halira crossed the steps and entered the temple. She ran through the main hallway and reached the door at the far end. She opened it without hesitation, and a wide room of pale tones appeared on the other side. She took a deep breath. She knew this place, the strange space where time passed differently. Here, I have a chance. On Toria, time flows much more slowly. Without stopping, she crossed the room and hurried down the exit hallway. Upon reaching the outside, the white and infinite void enveloped her. Next to the entrance, several small red ships sat in silence, just as her master had warned. She approached one of them, pried open the hatch, and slipped inside. After several attempts, she managed to activate the systems. Screens flickered, showing recorded routes, marked trajectories, and unknown destinations. "It can't be," she whispered to herself. "The white dimension, it's not just a chamber, it's a network of pathways between worlds." Among them, one marked with a peculiar symbol: forbidden, extremely powerful beings, final objective. Knowing the devastation that awaited every planet on Gravek's route, Halira made a risky decision. She couldn't defeat Gravek, but she could warn the inhabitants of this other world and perhaps find in them the help her world needed. That is the world I must go to. If anyone can stop Gravek, it must be there. With determination, she entered the coordinates and set off through the white dimension. Far away, on the sacred world of the Kais, the calm was also being tested. The air trembled with every clash of ki. Goku and Oob trained without rest, trading blows that made the entire surface of the planet vibrate. Goku, amused but serious, had raised his level to Super Saiyan 2, testing his disciples' progress. The Elder Kai fished listlessly in a nearby lake, while Supreme Kai and Kibito watched serenely. Each impact made the ground quake, but they watched the magnitude of the power being unleashed without blinking. What really caught their attention was the progress of the human boy. Day after day, Oob brought to light a latent strength that Goku was determined to awaken. Mid-exchange, Oob finally asked the question he had been holding on to for some time. "Master, isn't there a way to release all my power at once? Like Gohan did back then?" Goku dodged a kick with an amused expression. "Maybe, but that's not really up to us. Besides, where's the fun in that?" The boy clenched his jaw, striking with even more vigor. "Then I'll do it my way." With a swift kick, Oob caught Goku off guard, sending him flying straight into the lake. The water erupted in a violent explosion. The Elder Kai jumped from his seat, his face flushed red. "Hey, watch it! What do you think you're doing? I'm sick of you scaring off the fish!" Goku emerged from the water, scratching the back of his head, while Oob apologized clumsily. Supreme Kai, amused, intervened. "At least it's reassuring to know the universe has such strong defenders. We never know when another catastrophe will strike." Goku looked at Oob with a knowing glance. "You see, there's no getting around it. You've got to keep training hard." Oob nodded with a determined smile. They both resumed training, while the Elder Kai picked up his rod, grumbling in search of a new spot to fish. "Lately I've been sensing a strange tension in the universe. Bah, must be my old age catching up with me." In the white dimension, Halira gasped. Two of Gravek's warriors had broken through. "Damn it! They've managed to get in much sooner than I thought." Halira flew swiftly through the white dimension, as Gravek's two warriors followed her relentlessly. Every time she glanced back, she saw them at the same distance, advancing calmly, but with that dark energy that made her tremble. "I'm not giving up," she murmured, pushing the throttle forward. After a time that seemed eternal, she saw it. Another gigantic white sphere, with a building on its surface. The same type of structure as on Toria. That must be another world. She headed toward the building, and the warriors did the same. Halira swallowed hard, her hands tense on the controls. Suddenly, one of them opened his canopy and launched a key blast that hit the hull. The impact shook her violently. Red alarms lit up on the control console, and a high-pitched buzzing rang through the cockpit. "Tch, damn it!" she spat, gritting her teeth. The soldiers did not repeat the attack. They didn't want to risk damaging the portal's structure. Halira landed the ship in front of the entrance and scrambled out. Just before reaching the threshold, she glanced back. The two of them had stopped. Huh? She blinked, surprised. The warriors watched her from their ships in the distance. "Now what?" one of them growled. "Nothing. Do you want Gravik to kill us? We're forbidden from even approaching that portal." The first one hesitated for a few seconds, his eyes fixed on the building. Damn brat. "Forget her. Her ship is damaged. She couldn't come back even if she wanted to." With a snort, they turned their ships around and began their return, gradually disappearing into the white vastness. Halira, still trembling, remembered the strict rule forbidding access to that portal. She swallowed hard, her heart pounding in her chest. "Then that is where I must go." Her voice sounded firm. Without thinking twice, she walked through the building's door.